In the darkest shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and bold.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Stigmata Studios presents The Jinn Jihad. The Jinn Jihad kicks your face with myths, mysteries, epic battles, suicide bombers, quirky characters, and divine power armor. In this epic graphic novel, the warrior archangels descend on a city in chaos. It's all-out war. The non-standard assembly battles an ancient terrorist organization and their ultimate weapon, a corrupted, magically enhanced, unstoppable monster, the Jinn. This graphic novel is a wild ride. It's one part distant Arab myth, one part Old Testament angelic vengeance, and one part unique heroic tough guys. Available on Amazon. Get more info on the Jinn Jihad and other titles at stigmatastudios.com.
Has he lost his mind? Can he see, or is he blind? Can he walk at all? Or if he moves, will he fall? Is he alive or dead? Has he thoughts within his head? We'll just pass him there. Why should we even care? He was turned to steel in the great magnetic field when he traveled time for the future of mankind. Now the time is here for Iron Man to spread fear. Vengeance from the grave kills the people he once saved. Nobody wants him. He just stares at the world, planning his vengeance that he will soon unfurl. Nobody wants him. They just turn their heads. Nobody helps him. Now they has his revenge. Heavy boots of lead fills his victims full of dread. Running as fast as they can, Iron Man lives again. Iron Man. Every boats of land. With an evil slam. I am the boogeyman. Bring about the end with a show of my hand. I'll chop your ass.
The Abracast. Occult. History. Conspiracy. Violence.
All right, everybody, welcome to Abracast. There will be no trigger warnings for this. Well, I don't know. Yeah, we're just going to say no trigger warnings for this. I'm feeling good. I'm recording on Sunday evening. There's a lot of folks out there revved up for WrestleMania. I don't give a fuck about WrestleMania, so I'm a little revved up for the Walking Dead finale. It was my birthday weekend. I had a great time out with my bros from society-13.com. A lot of great fun antics out there with the Caveman Mafia, Dan Foytik from the Wicked Library, of course, the Nelson W. Pyles, and the Queen's NC-17. So it was good. Iana told me she was going to teach me how to throw knives. Looking forward to that. I actually have them on order and waiting for them right now. I finished the art for that Wicked Library episode. I believe it goes up next week. If you want to swing by and check that out, it was pretty cool. Everybody seemed pretty happy with it. And of course, I got it in just under the wire. I'm busy scanning for my next project and doing art for the next thing coming up. Like I said, I don't want to get too loose-lipped about these things. This week, we're going to shift gears. We're going to get a little into ancient Jewish magic. So I want you to mix up your Jinn Jihad, have your divinely powered soulless automaton, mix it up real good. Be careful not to animate your drink, by the way. We're going to be talking all about golems today. And these golems are near and dear to me. I use them all the time, and I've killed 2 of them. As much as you can kill a soulless, divinely powered automaton in comic books. I've had 2 prominent golem characters. One was Boaz, the stone golem. And that's a real magic inside joke, by the way. Magic-y inside joke, Masonically inside joke for a stone golem in the non-standard assembly 1. I don't talk about these non-standard assembly books too much because frankly, when I look back at them, I'm like, yeah, you know how it is when you're working on a project for 13 years. Some of the earlier stuff, you know what I'm saying. Anyhow, Boaz was a favorite of mine, and then later in the Jinn Jihad, I have even the stone golem. They both didn't make it out of their respective stories. I go back and there's some prequel kind of stuff about Boaz every once in a while. So, oh god, man, I have this burp that's fucking. So, what is a golem anyways? I know some people get confused and they think about that Lord of the Rings golem. It is a totally different golem altogether. A golem is an animated anthropomorphic being that is magically created entirely from inanimate matter. Tonight we're going to be getting knuckle deep into alchemy, hermeticism, and Kabbalah. So we're talking about, people are like, now like Dungeons & Dragons kind of got a hold of them. So it's like, well, we can make golems out of everything, and it's like magic. We're dealing with these original, the original golems, where I guess you could still make them out of anything, but it's not really magic that animates them. As much as like these rabbis are like old Jewish wizards, what animates them actually is the power and I could say the magic of divinity. We're going to get into like this whole gematria angle in a little while, but it more has to do with you are kind of like hacking God's power and giving it to this inanimate object. It's not like literally, it's not your power, you know. But it's to these old Jewish wizards, these old Kabbalists, these old rabbi Kabbalist Jewish wizards. They're reenacting the creation of Adam. They're building the two golems we're going to be talking about tonight. Not the two I just talked, not my two golems that I just talked about, because they're carved out of granite. They are granite monuments to the Old Testament God of war, and they look black, glistening in the blood of their fucking victims in the moonlight. But these Jewish wizards are doing something a little bit different. Both of them are creating their golems out of clay. And that's because they're reenacting the creation of Adam. So they are like becoming, they are taking the role of God. But like I said, they're still using his voodoo to animate these characters. So it seems like it's blasphemous. And in a way, I think it is blasphemous, but I think it's from a different culture and a different worldview. I think to these two rabbis that we're going to be talking about tonight, one's name is Rabbi Lowell ben Betziel. They call him the Maharal. And the other is Rabbi Elihu of Kelm. I think that's the way you're supposed to say it. Rabbi Elihu of Golem. These two guys, I don't think that they were coming from a place of blasphemy. I think that they were coming from a place of like, hey, like it was a test. Like God was like, hey, if you guys can figure this out, you are the best Jew wizards out there. And in at least one of these stories about the Maharal, that is true because he's contemplating creating this golem, and God or whomever, whatever, talks to him like he's like meditating and like dancing around or whatever. And God like comes down and he was like, yo, you know, you can't do this because you need help. Like you need to find somebody else to help you. So he's like, all right. So he goes and he gets like someone from like this other priestly line of the Cohens and another priestly line of some other, like, I don't know, Goldbergs or something like this. And, they together form a metaphor for the elements between the golem being earth and the rabbi being air and the other guy being water and the other guy being fire. And, it also echoes to like the four corners, and it seems real witchy sometimes when you talk about these things, you know. And then they have to dance in specific circles. I'm gonna get into all this. I'm actually getting a little bit ahead of myself. So yeah, okay. So I'm actually right here. How do you do this? Is you create a combination of rites and rituals, and it has to do with the alphabet and sometimes other alphabet, dozens of alphabets, and you wind up having to dance in circles. They say that the Maharal had some students that tried to create a golem, but they were just they did everything right except they just danced around him the wrong way, so it never worked out. It would be interesting if it worked. I don't know if it worked, but like the guy just came out and he just did everything back. He's like the Bizarro Golem, but yeah. So you have to dance around him a certain way. I believe it's right to left. When you're looking, I don't know if you're standing at the feet or the head. I don't know. You know, like I said, you know, these stories are hundreds of years old, and it also gets into. Because we're talking about the Kabbalah, it also gets into Hebrew gematria or numerology. If you guys are interested in numerology, and how it relates to language and words, there's schools of thought about Hebrew gematria and even English gematria. There's a guy out there named Marty Leeds. He's on YouTube, and he does like 1,000,000 things, and it's actually quite dazzling. And he works strictly in English gematria. It's really entertaining. But the idea between the Kabbalah and this Hebrew gematria is each of the Hebrew letters equal a number, and in there you could decode things, you can encode things, and each it's like, it reminds me of like the Matrix, kind of like each character has like its own weight and value, and you smash it up against the other characters in the word it's like creating a spell just using like language. And this is actually why this is the reason that Jewish people aren't supposed to have tattoos. And if they have tattoos, it should not be letters or numbers, which is why, one of the reasons that it breaks my heart whenever you see, like in movies and stuff, or like on TV, Holocaust survivors that have those serial numbers tattooed on them, because you're just like, those guys can't be buried in Jewish cemeteries. I don't even know if you can even remove them. Like, tattoo removal is pretty common nowadays. I don't even know if you take them off, if they still let you get buried in there. But that's the word around the campfire, anyways. Is if you have if you're a Jewish person, you have a tattoo, you can't get buried in a Jewish cemetery, and that relates directly to these fucking stories I'm going to be talking to you about tonight. So, hold on, I need to wet the whistle. Bros, I got ribs on the grill right now, and I can fucking smell them. I can't wait to be done with this. All right. All right. So how do you make okay, so we went through like the esoteric stuff, like you gotta be dancing, you gotta have a combination of rites and rituals. But there seems to be two different real main components. And like I said, these stories are real old. And they might even be, they might even bite off of one another. Like the Golem of Golem is the oldest one. So the Golem of Prague might have bitten off that one and just elaborate it and actually became more popular. But they both have two different kind of ways to do it. Like the main ingredient, one is you have to do a Shem. You have to create Shem, which is one of the 72 names for God, and it's a hidden one. We're not supposed to know what it is. It's in the Kabbalah. It's kind of like the Tetragrammaton. Growing up watching Voltron my whole life, I always convert Tetragrammaton into Tetragrammatron because I also write stories about very large, divinely powered power armor. But it's written on this piece of paper, and then it's inserted in the golem's mouth, or you craft it into a secret symbol that you put it on the golem's chest. Oh God. Now, the pros and cons of this method is if you put the piece of paper into a symbol that you can put on the golem's chest, you can also turn it off very easily. Just by removing the symbol, and then you can put it back on. And you see, like, the in a lot of the same way, like, these things remind me so much of genies or djinns, because it's like there's like three themes that go into each like golem story. Well, each of these classic old ones is like it gets created to help the guy or stop persecution. It goes crazy, and the rabbi has to deactivate it. So, like, this one seems to be the easiest way to deactivate it because you can just remove the symbol. The second thing is the emet theory. Emet means truth in Hebrew, and what they do is they write this on the golem's forehead to bring it to life. Now, the pros and cons for this one is to deactivate it. All you have to do is erase the aleph of the emet which is the first character, the first Hebrew character of the word, and it turns truth into death, and that deactivates it. So you'll see Rabbi, a little bit later, Rabbi Elihu of Golem he creates a problem using the animate method. So we know these things. The earliest known kind of how-to of this was written in I'm going to butcher this. I'm doing pretty good with these, but I'm going to butcher this one. Sodie Razaya, written by Eliezer ben Judah of Worms, in 1165 to 1230. Now he talks about the Emet method in his story, but it's funny. There's a note here. It's a worthy note. Eliezer ben Judah of Worms. They're talking about Worms, Germany. Worms is one of the oldest cities in Germany. It's about 45 minutes south of Frankfurt, 20 minutes away from Mannheim, where Worms is. The Edict of Worms is when Martin Luther was declared a heretic. It's right off the Rhine River, and I used to party there. when I knew none of this back then, but when I was in the Army, we used to party in Worms, man. Like, there was 2 spots we would hit. There was, I think it was called, like, the Mad Cafe and, like, the Club Smash. So, like, all you NLP people out there, like, what do you think happened at these bars? The Mad Cafe and Club Smash. But I loved it, man. Those German chicks, oh my god. To be 20 and in Worms, knowing what I know now. I mean, dude. Anyhow, I gotta take a break after that. Remembering, whew. All right, I need to apologize to you guys because I just recall that I just said, like, I can't wait to get done with this so I can eat some ribs. That's wrong. I really value the time that I spend recording and kind of interacting with you guys, so I apologize for that for sure. And I appreciate you guys tuning in to listen as well. So now that that's behind us, I gotta while the spots were playing, I ran upstairs and got a new drink, and I was thinking about Worms, the city. And I remember one time this girl picked me up at a bar, and we went back to her place. She lives, I don't know, a couple minutes away by cab or whatever. And we went in, and there's obviously a language barrier. This is like my first night on the town in Germany. And I gotta also say, I wasn't 20. I was actually 18 years old. I recall that as well. But I'm old. This is my birthday weekend. I'm old. I can flub these numbers, but in actuality, it was 18. My first night out in Germany, this girl picks me up. We go back to her place. Language barrier, totally in place. It was present. We go into her house, and she gets us some drinks or something, and then like right away, I don't know the classy kind of way to say this, but she gets down kind of on her knees, and I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. And then I start looking around, and I was like, wait, hold on. She's got a giant poster of Hitler on her wall. And then I look, she's got like a kind of like a little shrine of like Hitler. So when you hear these people and they're like, Germans don't teach these kids about like Hitler and stuff. I don't know if that's true or not, because I was getting a blowjob from a Nazi. And I was like, I don't know even if I should be relaying this story, because I'm kind of throwing the Jew word around. I'm trying to do it respectfully. I mean, they were known as Jews. I'm not using any kind of derogatory words or whatever, but yeah, so there you go. Telling the story tonight has taken me back. It's taking me back. I walk through history getting a blowjob by a Nazi. Thank you guys. All right, so the first golem, the golem of Clem that we're going to talk about, like I said, Rabbi Elihu of Clem. He made a golem. He used what I call method number 2. And this is the method where he writes the word emet, or truth in Hebrew, on the golem's forehead. And what happened is he quickly lost control of the golem, and I believe this is probably it's probably all a metaphor, because the golem started to grow. It started to get huge, and he worried that if he didn't figure out a way to stop the golem, it would actually displace the universe. It would become so big it would displace our universe, you know? And these are all in the 1600s. So he was like, he couldn't, obviously, since the golem was growing, he couldn't reach up and like wipe the letter off this fucking thing's forehead. So he says, he gets the golem. He goes, "Yo, golem, here's what I need you to do." Because, like I said, these things, they're super literal. They're automatons, so they just follow these orders, right? So the rabbi's like, "Yo, what I need you to do is I need you to crouch down here and tie my shoe." And so this thing gets down. This huge, now gigantic, massive golem like leans down to tie this rabbi's shoe. And actually, this is brilliant. This Rabbi Elihu of Clem is obviously very smart, and he's got a great tactical mind. Because he needs the forehead to be in right there. So he says, "Tie my shoe." The golem crouches. This enormous now golem bends down to tie the guy's shoe, and he just reaches up and he wipes off the first letter. He wipes off the first letter, like I said, in method number 2. He wipes off the Aleph in emet, turning truth into death, which deactivates this golem. The bad side is the golem had become so massive when there was not like the divine thing animating him anymore. He crumbled. And he actually crumbled on top of this rabbi and fucking killed him. So, R.I.P. Rabbi Elihu of Clem. The next one we're going to get into, and this is the one that everybody, they might not know it, but everybody's heard, like, you know, the old 1920s movie, The Golem. This is it. This is the Golem of Prague. But first, all right, so the Golem of Prague. Like I mentioned, this Rabbi Lowell ben Benetzel is known by his folks, by his peeps, by his followers as Maharal, which means like the best Jewish wizard around. The best Jew wizard around. Prague is a city in Central Europe. That seems like an oddly placed true fact in the middle of all this stuff. So, so this is in the 1600s. This emperor that's around, his name is Emperor Rudolph. He's real interested in magic. He knows, he's got a couple little bones on astrology. and he kind of wants to diversify his funds, So he meets with Rabbi Lowell to talk about the Kabbalah. Because there were rumors at the time. Well, one of the things the Jews were after this Nazi story, I feel bad about saying the Jews. I don't know why. It's not. That's what they're called. I don't know, but it just sounds. After the blowjob Nazi story, it just sounds bad to say the Jews. So I don't know. I can't see what you guys like. There's certain eras in Jewish history, like you call them the Hebrews during most of the Old Testament. Then you start calling them the Jews. I don't know if it's like. Well, it's not like because they get subjugated, because they were subjugated also in the Old Testament. So I don't know what delineates them. I don't know if it has to do with like their leadership structure. I don't know. But like, look, they're called God's chosen people. They're called the Hebrews, and then they're called the Jews. I don't know. So this is not a trigger thing. I'm triggering myself, and I don't even know why. So there were rumors of this thing called a blood libel, and this thing is actually alive and well today. If you I don't know if it's on YouTube or whatever, but like you can, if you ever find like some news footage, I have a documentary about Palestinian and Arab television, and they have commercials about the, like they do like TV shows and stuff on their propaganda machines talking about this blood libel and what it is basically in a nutshell. Like I said, I have a doctorate of divinity. I do, but I'm not a theologian. So this is what I think it is. I don't have notes on this. My notes like just say blood libel. Like I think everyone fucking knows what that means. And I don't think you do. So I'm going to talk about it for a second. The blood libel is this myth. It's like this propaganda thing. I didn't know it went back this far. So this is interesting. This is actually the start of why there's a Golem of Prague, is because there was this rumor of blood libel. But now, cause I always think about it in the framework of like this Palestinian Arab television stuff. So, okay. Enough of the buildup. Jeez, just fucking get to it. So, it's this myth. It's a libel. There's this thing. It's a story that Jews need the blood of Christian, or in the case how I'm framing it, Christian or Arab or Palestinian children in order to make matzah. So it's like you have like I should dig up some of these commercials to put on the Abercast Facebook page. I will try to do that. I'll try to find some. But it's like these shifty people selling their children to like these like crazy Jewish stereotypes, and like the door closes and the shadow comes in and it's like knives come out, and then all of a sudden like old nasty Jewish women are like making matzah. So there's this blood libel rumor going around Prague. And the emperor's like, hey, I'd like to have you down. We could talk about this blood libel thing. I know your people are being persecuted. Maybe we could, just talk a little bit of shop, Kabbalah and whatever. So the Maharal goes to the banks of the river and he collects clay, a massive amount of clay. And he goes and he fashions his golem from this clay. He uses method number 1, where he puts the Shem into a symbol and puts it on this golem's chest. And he does some cool stuff with it. The golem helps Jewish people. It protects them from persecution in some cases. It helps the rabbi, like, go shopping. Like, the rabbi will just write a shopping list and put it in one hand, and then, like, a wad of cash in the other hand, and the golem will just go down and be like, yo, I need some corned beef. And the fucking butcher will just take the correct amount of money out of the golem's hand. I mean, you're not going to argue with the golem. At least I wouldn't. I mean, maybe a clay golem. How would you beat a clay golem? I would put it in a giant kiln and make a golem statue. All right. So when Maharal goes to Emperor Rudolph's court, he takes the golem with him. He's kind of showing off. He's like, yeah, I'll talk about the Kabbalah with you, and I'll talk about the persecution of my people with you, but I'm going to show you what I got. This is the Jewish wizard version of open carry. I'm gonna bring my shit when I come to see you. So the golem's there, and the crowd of the court kind of gets freaked out, and they kind of freak out, and something happens. It has something to do with the wandering Jew. I don't even really fucking even understand what it is, but part of the building falls down on these guys. The emperor, luckily, thank God, is safe, but his court is like trapped underneath like a broken wall or something, and he was like, come on, send this golem in to help us. And the Maharal is like, I don't know, maybe if you all of a sudden I turn into the Maharal is like, hold on, bro, why don't you promise me that you'll do something about all this persecution of my people? And the emperor's like, yeah, I'll totally do that if you send your golem in to help us. So he does. So the golem goes in, lifts up the wall, and all the people were able to escape, and everything was fine for everybody. Until one Friday night. You know how it is when the weekend, it's like you get out of work on Friday night, and you're like, I'm ready to fucking party. Nowadays, it's like I want to take a nap and then wake up and drink a few beers. Like... He's like, it's Friday night. I just got paid. And he gets so wrapped up in his prayers or whatever, his Jewish wizardry. He gets so wrapped up in that shit that he forgets to turn his golem off for the Sabbath, which starts like, I don't know, Friday nights for some reason, I think. Yeah, so he turns his golem off. He forgets to turn his golem off. Now, in order for you to understand this, I feel like I might need to also talk about some stuff that's not on my notes, which also makes it all questionable. So, people, like these guys really took this golem thing into consideration. And like earlier when I was reading Iron Man from Black Sabbath, if I didn't give that credit before the show, the cold open, I should have, for sure. That was Iron Man by Black Sabbath. I just assumed everybody knew what it is. The philosophical questions that Ozzy Osbourne is asking about the golem in that case is true. They asked these things. They were like, does this thing have a soul? Can we include it in Friday night prayer circles? Is it allowed to work on the Sabbath? They had these things. All signs also point to no, this thing didn't have a soul. It only did what it was told. And also another tenet, it's in my notes. I don't know why I didn't say it. I didn't speak it aloud. Because God spoke, and then it was. So no golem could speak. It was a way to like limit. It's like if God made Adam out of clay, and then Adam turned around and made a golem out of clay, what would stop the golem from turning around and making a sub-golem out of clay? And then that golem could make a beta golem. No, that golem could make a Charlie golem. And it goes on and on. So the way that they do that is they fucking limit the golem for speech inside the legend. Like they're like, no golem could ever fucking talk. And there was actually a part in my comic book where I was actually gonna do like a behind the scenes thing with Boaz in like a smoking jacket on like a fainting chaise lounger in a pipe. And I was gonna have him like be like super eloquent because he never talked in the comic books, but then I was like, no, that's actually going against like the one solid rule. So, yeah, I'm totally digressing. Okay. So what was it? Oh, yeah. The Maharal just got off of work. He's on his way home. It's like 6 o'clock on a Friday. He's listening to We Are the Champions on WMMS in Cleveland. That's what they play that every fucking like Friday evening. It's like their thing. We Are the Champions, and like the city was built on rock and roll or something. I can't remember. It was a long time ago. I haven't lived in Cleveland in a long time. All right, so he forgets to turn his golem off for the Sabbath, and the golem loses its fucking goddamn mind. He goes berserk. He goes haywire. It goes berserk. It goes bananas. Whatever. It catches a fire that consumes the whole ghetto. Now, when we hear ghetto, we think, oh, that's like where like low income, like, I don't know, urbanites live or whatever. But this episode, I feel like I'm really skating on the edge. But it actually started because that's where like they would force these Jews into living in like these neighborhoods, and they call it the ghetto. The ghetto. So this golem lights a fire that potentially burns the whole ghetto down. And by the time the rabbi could take the symbol that contains the Shem off of it in order to deactivate it, he takes it off, and they put it in the attic of his synagogue, and they like lay it down. Don't ask me how they get. It's got to be like fucking 800 pounds of clay. I don't understand how they do it. Like, if you ever try to lift a brick of clay, it's fucking crazy. So I'm thinking, like, I'm trying to figure out how a bunch of old Jewish wizards are, like, dragging this thing up into the attic. Again, I just get tied up in these details. But they throw it in the attic, and they come down, and the Maharal, like I said, who was, like, the best Jewish wizard in the area, was like, no one is ever to go up there ever again, period. Full stop. End of story, whatever. And there's stories out there that people like go and ask if they could go into the attic and do like a private tour in the attic, and the fucking guys still won't let these people go into the attic. They're like, nope, absolutely not. It's totally forbidden. So there's a great story idea. Like a CIA or something, like Mission Impossible. It could be even like the Vatican, like fucking tries to infiltrate the synagogue in Prague, to fetch this golem, so they could use it to like reactivate it and like send it on some nefarious mission. That's great, man. If I had fucking time in my story slots, I would fucking do it. But you got to look at this thing's picture. Like, it looks wild. Like, they have like reproductions of it and stuff, and then like the movie, like I said, there was, I think, like 1910s or 1920s, they did a German film about it, which it actually turns anti-Semitic. Like, the rabbi actually like turns to Satan instead of God to empower the golem, and you're like, oh, okay, here we fucking go. Yeah, so it's all interesting. It's all right there, whatever, but there, like, I really have a love of like this myth and this legend, and like I said, I have like the two real super prominent characters as far as I'm concerned that I've used in both of my golems were the same way, and I kind of like split the difference between method 1 and method 2, where I didn't even use the same word because I didn't want to offend anybody, so I used a different Hebraic word, and I chiseled it out on their chest. And instead of going from left to right, I went from up to down again to try to like distance it from like these religious legends and stuff. But they were both good guys. Like, we never had to turn them down. So, they weren't golem stories. They just had a golem in them. They had a golem in them. So anyhow, hey guys, I've had a blast. Let's wrap this fucking thing up. Remember to visit society-13.com. Prog Watch. There's a great show on there with two ladies. It's called History Goes Bump, where they visit or they talk about historical sites and the hauntings that goes about them. That might be up you guys' alleys. There's Kettle Whistle Radio with Dave. There's The Lift There's The Wicked Library, which is a reminder. My art, I did the cover art for, I think, this week's episode, so go and check that out. Caveman Mafia is over there. Check that out. And Dangling After Dark with Dick Dangle. If you guys want to know more about your favorite adult entertainers, they have an interview with them. I think every week they review sex toys, and they get in all kinds of DVD buys and stuff. Like, this guy like lives and breathes all this horny American porno bullshit stuff. So yeah, feel free to go over there if that sounds interesting to you. It's certainly interesting to me. And also, I want to plead with you guys, don't tell my wife about the Nazi blowjob thing. You go to www.stigmata Studios to find all my books. I got some new stuff coming out real soon. Thank you guys for listening. I love it. I love you guys, and I appreciate it. I get my biggest kick of the week is just to sit down and talk some bullshit with you guys about this. So yeah, that's it. Appreciate it. Thank you all for the happy birthday wishes. I got like 300 on Facebook the other day. Fools. Here we go. I'm actually going, my ribs are, I gotta flip them. I gotta flip my ribs.
Stigmata Studios presents The Scorpion Strikes. In this comic book, a terrorist called the Scorpion is transported to a secret CIA prison. He quickly turns the tables on the guards and administrators and releases the prisoners. A well-armed anarchist called Constituent Zero assembles a team and fights to take the prison back. This story is a dark political action thriller. The Scorpion's actions set the stage perfectly for the Jin Jihad. Available on Indie Planet. Get more info on The Scorpion Strikes, the Jin Jihad, and other titles at stigmatastudios.com. Stigmata Studios presents The Test of the Scorpion. In this comic book, while the Jin Jihad is raging on one side of the city, the terrorist called the Scorpion sets a secondary attack in motion as he obtains a small tactical nuclear bomb. A mysterious, ever-living warrior called Cyrus the Dead Guy steps forward to test the faith of the Scorpion and his lunatic followers. This is an action-adventure story. It's a bit of swashbuckler that wraps up the Jihad stories. Available on Indie Planet. Get more info on The Scorpion Strikes, the Jin Jihad, The Test of the Scorpion, and other titles at stigmatastudios.com.
Your mouth. Do 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 ba do do dum dum. Do 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 ba do do dum dum dum. Ba 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 ba. I got like 3 bottles of gin for my birthday. And I got a 3 jar set of like designed for men bath scrub, which I didn't think I was going to like at all. But I have to tell you, my skin feels awesome right now. I don't know what it is. I got peppermint stuff for the feet, spearmint stuff for the body, and then like green tea stuff for my face. And I was just told like to keep the peppermint away from my butthole. That's what they said. So I did that. That's good. I kept that peppermint stuff down there for the feet. But my skin feels amazing. Peace out. Come on, peace out, I said.